right, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Niles Main District Library Board on Wednesday, March 18th at 7:03 p.m.
Thank you. Trustee Sheeler?
Present.
Trustee Kadir is absent with prior notice. Trustee Schoenfeld?
Here.
Treasurer Vitello?
Present.
Secretary Toy?
Here.
Vice President Rosansky?
Here.
President Key.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have no public comment and we did not receive any public comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, so no public comment, we can move on, and I would like to motion that we move up item 6A, the presentation of the marketing assessment by Stacy Liddon, so she doesn't have to wait around for us to finish other things.
Second.
Okay.
Okay. Call. And Trustee Sheeler?
Yes.
Trustee Kadir is absent. Trustee Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Treasurer Vitello?
Yes.
Secretary Toy?
Yes.
Vice President
Yes.
Rosansky? President Key.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
43 through. Pages right here.
Stacy, are you ready? You're muted.
I am.
Welcome. Thank you for
Yes.
being here.
Thank you all. And you can still see my screen okay, the marketing assessment report highlights.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for having me this evening. It has been such a pleasure working with the Niles Main District Library team. I had an opportunity to be out there in February to meet with the staff and see the space. And I was so impressed by everyone. And so, again, it's an honor to be here with you all tonight and to present the highlights from the marketing assessment report. So I am Stacy Liddon. I am the founder of Stacy Liddon Consulting. I work with libraries and other purpose-driven organizations across the country, helping them to build relationships with meaningful relationships with their audiences through leadership development, marketing and branding, vision and values work, community engagement, and strategy. I spent 15 years working at Anythink Libraries, the public library system for Adams County, Colorado, just north of Denver, where I'm based. And in my role at Anythink, I was the director of strategic partnerships. So I oversaw the innovations department there, which was responsible for all the marketing, PR, web, social media, public art, special events for the organization. And I also oversaw the day-to-day for the Anythink Foundation, which is the 501c3 that raises private funds for the library, of which now I am a member of the Anythink Foundation board. When I started at Anythink, it was October 2008, and I was a writer in their communications department. And it was the first time, actually, that the library had a communications department. Previous to that, there was one woman who had been, running the communications for the entire district. At the time, there were 6 branches, and my predecessor there, Steve Hansen, who's still a dear friend and mentor, built really the first communications department. So he hired a writer, that was me, and a graphic designer. And the 3 of us really, as we were getting ready to launch the Anythink brand, the library system was really going through its, it's a totally new approach to library service. We had to build a lot of systems from the ground up. And so a lot of the challenges, a lot of the things that we're seeing here with a new department, I'm very familiar with. Really, again, building those systems so that we can truly build those really important connections, meaningful connections with our community. So today I will be, just as an overview here, I'm going to start by sharing the branding pyramid, which is a tool that I use that we shared with all of the staff in the focus groups as well. Thought that it would be important to share with you all, so we really have that same frame of reference, and it's very much shapes the lens by which I do my work. We're going to talk about some of the market research highlights that came out of the assessment, go over the high-level recommendations, and then talk about some of the recommendations for the phase 2 work. At the end, we'll have plenty of time to answer any questions that you have as well. So first, to kick things off, the branding pyramid is a tool that I often use still to this day in my work and how I think about my own work, and then also working with clients. This was a tool that was introduced to us by Ricochet Ideas, the creative team that helped us to shape the Anythink brand. And while it's a marketing tool, we very much used it in thinking about the way that our spaces are designed, the kinds of experiences and how we deliver our experiences, as well as the way that we think about our marketing and communications. And it's based on this concept of features, benefits, and emotional space. So in the context of libraries, the features are what I lovingly describe as the stuff. These are the books, the materials, the databases, the spaces that you have, the computers, all of the products and services that are offered at the library. The benefits are, those benefits of engaging with the product and service on a person's life. So an individual may come to the library, bring their child for story time, come to get resume help. They come to the library and they learn something new. But what we're always striving for in our communications is the emotional space. How do we make people feel when they walk into our libraries? When they walk into the library, do they feel welcome? Do they feel connected? Do they feel inspired? When they're engaging with us online, do they feel smart? Do they feel relieved? We've introduced them to something that has benefited their life in some way, made their life easier. So when we're thinking about our marketing, when we're thinking about communications, and really thinking about the way that we deliver service, always thinking about that emotional space, keeping that front of mind, because that's really what builds loyalty. That's what helps people keep coming, encourages people to keep coming back. They know that we're on their side. It builds trust. And that's really what gets people saying, hey, to their neighbors, hey, you would not believe what I experienced in the library today, that transformational experience. You got to go check it out. And so this is really very much an anchor for the work that I do and the frame of reference. So I wanted to share it with you all today as well. So the process, so describing a little bit about the process by which we did this assessment. So there are really 3 main areas that we focus on. So first is reviewing some of the existing materials. So that's everything from the strategic plan to any internal documents you may have related to marketing and the community engagement marketing department, things like the website and social media, flyers and such. So there's a review of those existing materials to kind of get a baseline understanding of the brand and also help to identify some of the gaps as well. There were focus groups conducted on site, so 4 focus groups that we did on site right there in that boardroom, as well as a survey that went out to all of you, the Board of Trustees, and thank you so much for your thoughtful feedback and participation in that. And then we also did some benchmarking and market research as well, so really looking at some of the other regional libraries and looking at their staffing levels, budgets, and staff makeup, social media statistics, and then used the policy map tool, which is an extremely powerful tool, to provide us some insight specifically on that unincorporated area of your service area. I know that that was an area that we wanted to specifically take a closer look at because there had been some gaps previously in some of the information around that. So Policy Map was a really great tool. And then Annie and I also had an opportunity to actually drive around, went through that, drove through the area, checked out the schools, looked at some of the drove through some of the neighborhoods, which was helpful context as well. And so for the benchmarking and market research, really three main things that I wanted to highlight related to the benchmarking specifically. We looked at 8 regional libraries that serve a similar population size with one location, and then 2 libraries, Mount Prospect and Oak Park, that do have multiple branches, multiple locations, but have around the same size population served, and to really kind of get a sense of what's that baseline and how does Niles Main District Library compare. And so just some of the highlights from that research. One specifically related to the community engagement and marketing budget was just slightly lower than some of those other libraries. And something that I just wanted to highlight as well related to this is that you do have the community engagement, outreach, and marketing within that same department. So really, looking at this from in terms of some of the other libraries, it's not necessarily apples to apples. So I think that's just something to keep in mind when we're looking at some of these numbers. And then, you all came in just slightly lower at 1.3% of the budget, overall budget, going towards the community engagement and marketing efforts. And so something to possibly consider in the future, especially again, because you do have those 3 areas within one department, is looking at that more like the 1.5 to 2%, which is really in line with some of the other libraries, they were looking at about 1.5, 1.75. Something to consider, especially with having, marketing and the community engagement as a big part of your strategic plan for the next 5 years. So something to just consider there. And then in regards to staffing, the staffing numbers are comparable in hours across the library. So you have 5 full-time individuals in the department right now with a part-time vacancy. But when you really start to look at the positions in the department that are specific to marketing, right now you have the supervisor role, 2 marketing specific roles, 1 outreach role, and then 1 generalist who really is working in both outreach and marketing. So while looking at Oak Park specifically was one that we looked at because they do have community engagement under the marketing umbrella. They do have right now 5 of their staff that are specifically assigned their roles to marketing and 1 for community engagement. So again, while the hours are comparable, the roles are a little bit different. And so that's just something to consider as we start talking about kind of the purpose of the department, the makeup of the department, roles and responsibilities moving forward. And, this, as a new department, as a growing team, a fairly new team, I think that what we're seeing here is very normal too. This is, as far as starting out and growing to that baseline. And then the same thing with social media, as far as the social media goes. Some of those numbers are lacking, but the more of this foundational work that happens, the more that some time and attention can be put towards strategy. Those numbers, there's a lot of room for opportunity and growth there. So next, in regards to some of the market research, as I mentioned, we did get a chance to go drive around the neighborhood, which was very helpful. And then we also used incredibly powerful tool, Policy Map, to take a look at those unincorporated areas. And a Policy Map pulls data from a lot of different sources to really give insights on some of the consumer trends that you see there. And the area, we were able to kind of block out specifically those unincorporated areas and really drill down into that using the maps in the software. And there were 56 census blocks that made up those incorporated areas. 48% of the represented ages 25 to 44, and middle to upper class. Middleburg managers, which Policy Map uses, they have 68 different consumer segments in the software that they use, and all of them have different traits, socioeconomic information, consumer information. It's incredibly powerful. And middle managers is one of those segments that they use in there. So middle managers makes up 38% of that area with 21 blocks. And then also 4 or 6 of the largest segments, so 19 blocks total, include residents 55 plus. And within these groups, there's a lot of variation. So, but I wanted to highlight this as well to show, and this is something that really came out in the conversations that I had with staff, is that telling the library story to people 25 to 44 and those 55 plus, their needs are different, right? Mm-hmm. So totally. You do need, there is some thought and strategy that goes into those different groups. And I think the Policy Map tool and some of the information that we're pulling out of that is going to be really helpful in targeting that information. So this is the snapshot of, as we kind of dig into that tool. And we did use a trial version when we were doing this, but I do believe that the library has decided to sign on, extend the software subscription. But this gives you a little bit of a snapshot of those segments. So it'll tell you things, of course, the age, it indicates mostly homeowners here, and talks about, their technology knowledge, and gives just a little bit of insight, things like eats at Cold Stone Creamery, purchases NHL sports apparel. And this isn't meant to be assigned across the board here, but it gives you a general sense. You can start to see a little bit more of what their interests are, what maybe some of their concerns are, where they spend their money, and this information can really help you to start thinking about how do we message to these folks, what might resonate with them, where might they get their information. So it can be really quite powerful. So the key recommendations, so moving on there are 6 key recommendations that came out of this assessment. The first, I think you'll see this across the board here, is really starting the internal work first. And really this is about laying a really solid foundation so that when you get to that really brand strategy, marketing strategy, you have your systems in place to really do that well, do that effectively. And so the first recommendation is really related to the original proposal that was submitted, we had decided on 3 phases for that work. The first being this marketing assessment. The second was brand messaging and identity framework. And then the third was really focusing on the systems, tools, and implementation roadmap. After talks with the staff there, with Valerie, Victoria, Annie as well, I'm recommending that we actually do switch and do the systems, tools, and implementation roadmap first. So again, really building the systems so that we have good, strong structure in place so that we can then execute the marketing, branding, communications, community engagement effectively. And so that is the first recommendation here. The second is really defining the purpose of the community engagement and marketing department. As I mentioned, this is a fairly new department, but there is some confusion around kind of the department's purpose and function. Again, we've got community engagement, we have outreach, we have marketing. Those 3 things have different needs, different priorities, and core functions. So what I'm recommending is that we really take some time working together to define the scope, define the purpose, understand, again, those roles and responsibilities that can ensure that you the team can be really effective in communicating the library story, and again, having those systems in place, but really defining the purpose of the department and the roles and responsibilities needed to ensure everything's working smoothly and effectively is key to getting started. And then designing systems and structures. So again, as a new department, there are some pieces that are missing. Some of those guidelines, those communications guidelines, or in this case, community engagement and marketing guidelines that really define this is how we do our work, and it can really help to make sure that the work is done more effectively, we're reaching more people, everybody's on the same page, moving in the same direction. You'll hear me say that quite often. So really looking at those systems and structures that will help set everybody up for success. And that really also feeds into thinking about reimagining how the library staff collaborate. So this is, once those structures are in place, it's like, how do we use these tools? Who needs to be at the table? There are some silos still that are happening in the library. And again, we just really want to get everybody kind of focused on, you have your new strategic plan in hand. We've got some goals set related to that. How can we be working together towards a shared vision, toward those shared goals, so that we're working in tandem on some of that? And there are some tools and some things that really play off of some of those systems and structures that, again, can really get everybody moving in the same direction. Embrace a spirit of experimentation. Much of what I've been describing here is really about that internal work. And there is still work to do in telling the library story and connecting with the community. So that doesn't stop. But there can be ways, and the way I describe this, again, spirit of experimentation. Can we try some things that won't require a ton of resources, but could have a big impact? So that we are still moving forward in our marketing, in our communications and engagement. But again, while we're doing some of the structural, internal, foundational work, things are still moving forward. So for instance, one of the suggestions that I had, recommendations that I had, was doing some advertising on local radio. And I have to tell you that I have never had more comments on advertising than I have spots on the local radio station, local Colorado Public Radio. More people come to me saying, "Oh my gosh, I heard anything on there." People coming out of the woodwork saying that. It doesn't require a ton of copy work. You know, you can set something that is meaningful, that has a call to action, that can be evergreen, that's general awareness, and set it and let it run. And it can have a wide reach and deliver some impact, you know. And we can also test that by asking people when they come in, they sign up for a library card, how did you hear about us? And so thinking about that, again, spirit of experimentation, are there other opportunities like that we can continue to tell the library story in a way, but that it has kind of a narrow scope, and we can test it, try it, tweak it, as we're doing this other work and working towards, you know, that brand refresh as well. So another example of this is, you know, we have all of this information now from Policy Map about that unincorporated area. And I know that that is a priority for this board as well as the staff. So is there one of those groups that we can select and create a campaign, whether it's anything from, you know, working with a local HOA up there and getting door knockers out, to doing a direct mail, to maybe a pop-up event that's really targeted using the information that we found through the tool. So again, I like to describe this as a spirit of experimentation. Let's try a few things using the information, this very specific information that we have gotten, and while we're working on some of these foundational pieces, internally. And then finally, consider vision and values work as part of the brand work. And this may be later on as you're really starting to shape. This could be part of the rebranding eventually, if you decide to rebrand, or the brand refresh. But, you know, you all have a story to tell in this beautiful library. The library, you know, you all have also been through a lot in the past few years. And the vision and values work, you know, really grounding your story, grounding the brand, grounding, you know, your communications in core values and a shared vision can really help to, you know, build that for the long haul. And so, you know, I have traveled all over the world talking with folks about branding and culture, and how your culture influences your brand and how your brand influences your culture. And at the heart of that is really thinking about establishing core values, and living them and making that part of your story as well. And again, this is really about getting everybody kind of moving in the same direction, working with the same playbook, and with the desire and the hope to continue building on these relationships that you are growing in your community with the library. And so for the next phase of work, as I mentioned, we are shifting gears towards, setting up these systems, tools, and the implementation roadmap. And so what we are suggesting is that as part of this phase 2, that there be coaching and training for the community engagement and marketing department, as well as the leadership team, really so that we can have a shared vocabulary. So we're all kind of working, again, from the same playbook. So when we're making decisions, we all know we can make those strategy decisions together. We've got shared language to help us do that, as well as some training specifically for the community engagement marketing team on some best practices, consulting on systems, so really looking at existing tools and systems and helping to advise where needed, and then working on things like creating some guidelines for the library related to community engagement and marketing. the introduction of a project workflow framework. This is something that I've used and honed over years of tools that I've put together that are really helpful in laying out from the minute you identify your challenge that you're trying to solve to creating all of your, all the creative pieces of a project or initiative to implementation and then evaluation. So I have a series of tools that I would be working with the team to implement those. And not only could those be applied in the community engagement marketing department, but they could also be shared and used, throughout the library and tweaked as needed. But some of those systems and structures, I already have some tools I can bring to the table and really do train the team and then work on one of these initiatives together. And then additional consulting hours. This is something that we've added to be able to advise on really the purpose of the department, talking with the leadership and the CEM team on what might this look like? What are the current buckets of work? Where are the gaps? And really working through that together. But those hours are flexible. So as this project may evolve, and I know the team, and I have to say, I was so impressed by the team that Annie has put together, such a fantastic group of folks, and really just enjoyed all of your staff across the board. We had a really great time together and learning from each other. They've already started on some great work since the last time I was there. So these consulting hours are flexible that can be applied as we continue to work together. And with that, questions? Any questions?
Patty?
Yeah, I heard the word outreach connected with this. I understand working with the community is considered outreach, but we have people that are considered outreach people. Are you suggesting that they are together then?
So at the moment, the person who does what we call outreach, but at the moment is deliveries. So we call deliveries outreach. The homebound delivery staff member who also does deliveries to local schools does fall within the CEM department.
Okay,
That's what Stacy was talking about.
because outreach has
We did
changed
change our vocabulary.
hugely since, well, past experience with past boards. So that's why I was curious when I heard outreach, my ear went like this. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I do have a question. So thank you for this. This is very enlightening, and especially the information. The other comparable districts in the area, a lot of good information there. One of my questions is, you talk about the recommendations, and one of them is design systems and structures. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Just maybe, what are we missing? What would you see at a best-in-class library that we're not doing and should be doing? Just a very high-level view of that so I can kind of, refine that picture a little bit.
Absolutely, yes. And again, this is not unusual for a fairly new department, right? And so one of the first things that I recommended was putting together basically guidelines that could be used for staff. And these guidelines are pretty comprehensive. They include everything from what does the department do? How can they support the staff? When do we send out a press release to local media? What to do when people come in and want to take photos in the library? How do you submit a request to the department? When I say systems and structures, it's really that. It's like why does this department exist? How can they support our internal clients, I think of our staff as the internal customers. This is really a support department. And so both internally, this is how we support you, and these are the ways to get the work done. And then also externally, what are some of the expectations? So one of the deliverables that I see is working together with the department to create guidelines like that are really pretty comprehensive. And then some of the other one is, currently I think the requests internally are being submitted via email. There may be ticketing systems that we can look at, different kinds of forms. It's those kinds of structures that, again, starting, somewhat from the ground up really, are needed to do the work effectively. The group has been doing an incredible job without these, but I think the team is really looking for this. The CEM team is looking for this. Other staff are looking for this. And those are really the kinds of structures that we're talking about. Does that help?
Stacy, would I be right in saying this is almost sort of an operations manual that we would be starting to work on for the department?
Yes. I get, I like to use guidelines because I know not everything we're not going to be able to put everything in there. We want to allow a little bit of gray area for flexibility and things. But yes, I think that's another great way to think about it, look at it.
Thank you. That was a good answer. You actually even answered my next question, which was on the ticketing system. I didn't understand what we needed a ticketing system for, and now I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to share too. It's interesting. I mean, HR, I would say HR, finance, similar. But a communications department really touches every aspect of a library system, right? And so they're getting all kinds of requests from all the departments of different items for support. And so streamlining those requests so that so that they can do their job well and staff feel really great about the work they're doing together. That's really what we're going for.
I've got a question. On page 18 of the Marketing Assessment Key Recommendations Report, under A for About Niles Main District Library, why aren't we using more current years? Like we've got 23 to 24, 2023.
And I just caught an error here too. So thank you for sharing that. I do believe that we took the information from the learning report.
Yeah,
that was from your strategic plan.
Oh, okay, that's what it says here.
So the source here, it looks like, was from that rather than from the most updated budget report.
Annie has something to share as well.
The IMLS data is also typically 2 years behind, so that's probably why that.
Okay, thank
So
you.
The
Excellent.
reporting, the national reporting.
Thank you.
Thanks, Annie.
From what it sounds like, and I kind of had that idea anyway, but this isn't what it once was as a department. It's a lot more than it used to be.
So before Sasha left, my understanding, and Victoria can help me out here, is that department started to grow in this area where they started to be in charge of some of the bigger events, like 4th of July and things of that nature. But the role clarity was never particularly defined for the department. And so what Stacy is going to help us work on, and it's something we need to do for the entire library, to be honest, is role clarity for that department and others so that we can start working better together, because we'll know who is actually responsible for what, who the key people are that we need to talk to about certain decisions, who has authority to act on certain things. And that's going to go along with the strategic plan where we're talking about more internal collaboration. So this is our first step with our first department in doing this bigger scale work.
So down the road, it'll go to the other departments. Okay. It seriously, this sounds like something that should have happened or had been working on prior to this, so
It's
Great.
gonna be a really good step for us.
good.
I have a question about, you had mentioned in here that staff are looking for transparency from the CEM team. Is that just in regards to the ticketing system, or is there more to that?
I think that's some of that's the ticketing system. It's how we do our work. That's why the guidelines are really important. It's like having some documentation of, and you have new staff too, right? Of how do we do this? I have a program coming up. I want to, when is it appropriate to do a flyer? When is it appropriate to sit down with the team? It's really documenting, how they do their work. And that's the transparency that I'm really referring to. Because when we don't have some of those things, we make up our own ways of doing things, right? And so I think it's building some of that out, and then communicating it as well. So like that this work won't happen in a vacuum. This is actually an opportunity to create some of these things and then share that with staff and talk with staff. And to Valerie's point, even too, I think what we've been talking about is some of the ways that some of these strategies that we may use with this department could then be applied in other departments as well. We can you can take all those parts and pieces and apply them in other areas. But that's really what the transparency is about.
Thank you.
So I know this isn't until new business 6B, but while we have Stacy here, my recommendation would be also to ask if the board has any questions about the phase 2 proposal.
So I do have a question about that on the phase 2 proposal. And I know I've got it back here, I forget what the amount is, but is that the fully anticipated amount? Because it seems like there might be things identified in that, like, it mentions in here, professional development, vendor support, and other things, so will there likely be additional costs associated with that going into
So
phase 2?
that's why we built in additional consulting hours. Like Stacy mentioned, we may not use all of those additional
Okay.
estimated hours. This proposal is meant to be a do not exceed at this phase.
Okay.
Okay, that's cool.
Is this the same amount that we started out with when we,
It's not, because we added some additional potential consulting hours after Stacy talked to all of our staff.
what was it before?
I did not bring that with me, I'm sorry.
Well, if you just subtracted, it would have been maybe 12,300.
That's correct, yep.
The additional consulting hours are 4,000.
But since this is the first department you're really doing this with, and this can be a jumping off point for the other departments, hopefully there won't be as much in the way of expense when you're dealing with the other departments, or?
Our goal is to have this really build a foundation that we can work from, both for CEM and in some instances being able to use this work for the rest of the library. So
Yeah,
yes, that would be the goal.
okay.
I don't have any more questions.
I have one, but I think it's gonna it's backed up, it's before the proposal.
Okay.
If I read the recommendation correctly, the marketing department would have to put things aside for roughly a year to get this rolling. Am I right or wrong in that?
Not aside, it would be
Okay.
adjusting workflows and stuff
Okay.
like that. So, for example, we would change sort of the framework and how we structure like program requests or something like that. So in that, it would sort of shift how we are prioritizing, but not necessarily putting things aside.
Okay, so,
So it'd be a more collaborative approach with the workflows that we're building in.
and we wouldn't like say, I'm sorry, I can't do that for X department because we're still working on, all of this.
So one of the things that, I don't remember the page that it's.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't either, it just kind of hit me now.
But there's one where it's saying like the 3 different tiers of stuff. So it would be putting those things in those tiers so that we're working on having a structure for how we are prioritizing.
Okay, so we'd still be doing everything we do, but just in a different way or a different process.
So
Thank
things
you.
will still be marketed, we'll still have Facebook posts.
Right, so
That way
nothing's
you're-
going to stop, but just maybe in a different way.
We'll still have the plan swap, which I just talked to you about.
The work will continue and be streamlined. So right now, for example, there's no framework essentially for requesting a poster, for example. And in the past, there have been posters done for almost every program, but that's not necessarily efficient marketing, both overwhelming to patrons and overwhelming to the CEM department. And so something Stacy and Annie are gonna be working on is, okay, this tier of program will be marketed in the building only. This one will be marketed online, and building in more
Different
structure,
levels.
different levels of marketing.
All right, thank you.
That's on page 14.
Anyone else have any other questions for Stacy? Thank you very much, Stacy. It was very helpful.
Thank you,
having here.
Stacy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. And I just want to say again, just how impressed I was by all the staff, the CEM team, Valerie, Victoria, and what a delight. Absolutely. It's been working with you all. And I see the fire in the belly, and I see this passion for the work that they do and serving the community. And so, so just kudos to them and to all of you for investing in the team. And so thank you so much. It's really an honor.
But while she's still on, what are we gonna do with this? I thought, did you want to talk more about if we agree with
About phase 2,
yeah,
that's up to the board. If you'd like to move it up, you can vote to move that up as well. Or if you have any other questions, we can talk to her while she's here and then vote on it afterwards.
Oh, that's,
Yeah, so if there's
that's not,
any,
letter B.
right, any more questions for Stacy before she goes about it, and then we can vote on it later.
excellent, okay.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Take care and have a great meeting.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great night.
Bye-bye.
Okay, this stuff.
All right, so we go back to 4, consent agenda.
Sure,
That's what I'm doing here.
Yeah, hey, join the club.
Exactly. We're kind of in process, so,
Is there a motion to?
that's what I'm saying. Are we ready to, are you ready? Okay. I motion to approve the consent agenda, to A, approve minutes, B, payment of bills, C, treasurer's report, D, trustee reports, E, executive director report, and F, communications.
Kathy?
I'd like to pull out trustee reports, please.
Okay.
Okay.
So, do you have a report? I think that we can just have her do a, she has, yeah.
Yeah, I've got kind of brief summary. I
Do
attended
we,
the,
question first. Do we then
The
hold
board-
off getting a second until after she gives her report?
The board can choose, Patty, you can either choose to amend your motion to remove trustee reports and have everyone vote on that, or Kathy can talk first and then someone can second on approving
Okay.
it all.
That's fine, let's let her do her report and then we can get our second.
thank you.
I attended the trustee toolkit budgeting webinar Saturday, March 7th via Zoom. It was excellent. It was put on by Jamie Ragland from, help me out, Maris.
Sim Advisors.
Thank you very much. Just a real quick summary, because if anybody wants it, the PowerPoint is 42 pages. I can email it if you'd like. I just pulled a few things out. One, the library board protects the well-being of the library. We know most of it, but you hire a qualified and competent director, you approve a goal-orientated budget, you enact the appropriation and levy, set clear expectations and priorities for financial health, establish strong financial policies, establish financial strategy, monitor the financial health, and maintain a fiduciary duty to the library. I really liked his, and I'll show it to you. He considers the library and the staff and the director on a ladder. We hold the ladder as the trustees. The library director and staff walks up and down, and the point he made was we at the bottom should never let go of the ladder and start walking up and down, because then everything is going to get real shaky and, my words, fall apart. And the way I can explain that better, rarely should we review, overrule, or become involved with an administrative responsibility. That's his point of view. Anyways, moving on, internal controls and best practices, we do them all, but board approves all expenditures. We have separation of duties. He put this down, recommended it, but I'm not sure if we do it double signatures on all checks. We do have positive pay and positive ACH on all accounts. Board approved internal control document, detailed board meeting agendas, detailed monthly bills, AP list, detailed monthly financial statements and receipts. Roles. The board oversees management's performance and has ultimate responsibility. Management is primary responsible. Staff executes controls along with management, and then the auditor would not be part of any of the, it's not part of the district systems of internal control, because you always need an outside person for that. Primary concerns for the library board. Do our policies conform to the law? Are we reviewing our policies according to our policy? Interesting. Do our policies give appropriate latitude to administrative authority? Do our policies encompass our vision for the library? Do policies reflect the culture we wish to instill? And then, very important, engaging with your library director about library finances. Collaborate and work together to create strong financial policies. Know what the library's streams of revenue are. Study and understand the library monthly financials and annual audit. Review the invoices and get to know the vendors. Ask questions if you don't understand something. Another big part he talked about was forecasting. We need to forecast. He said a forecast will broadcast the impact of our decisions. And this one, just an example, went out 5 years. And then, in summary, I'm kind of going backwards, but the board holds the ladder. Month by month or periodically, we'd look at the budget versus actual, which we really do every month. Investment allocation and performance. You know, we see the investments on the treasurer's report. Actions requiring board approval, budget and appropriations, and then the levy. Occasionally, the board should review policies for content and compliance, establish a strategic plan, which we just did, become informed on implementation,
and then like I said before, rarely review, overrule, or become involved with an administrative responsibility. That was the short and sweet of it, but 42 pages, 2-hour seminar, fantastic. Just really, really
Isn't
good.
he the one who came and talked to us? I was gonna say, as soon as
Yeah.
you showed the picture of the ladder,
He's
Yeah.
our financial advisor.
yeah, he
Right.
came in, he talked to us and showed the ladder, so yeah. He was a very good presentation.
And it was a very good
I
one.
really appreciate you taking the time to go to watch that and follow up with this high-level summary. So
Welcome.
it's-
Now, if you want, I can email all 42 slides. I have access to it, and so all of us should,
Yes,
because
please.
we paid for it.
I remember it from when he was here, so I don't
Okay.
personally feel it's necessary,
Just put every, you know.
Yeah, you can
see
just
everyone
not
and
look at
then-
it, yeah. All
which is
right.
fine.
I can upload it to the board SharePoint site as well, so you all have access to it.
Okay,
Thank you,
Great.
Kathy.
welcome.
Yeah.
Very good. I
So
second
now
the-
we,
I
okay,
second the motion to
Thank
approve
you.
the consent agenda.
Thank you. All set? Trustee Shealer?
Yes.
Trustee Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Treasurer Patello?
Yes.
Secretary Toy?
Yes,
Vice
Yes.
President Rosinski? President King? Yes. Thank you. 6-0 passes.
okay. Now, are we ready to go on to the next one? It's unfinished business, number 5.
Mhm.
I move to approve action on notary service agreement.
I second.
Are there any questions on this?
I
Before
just
we-
have a couple.
Yep.
Sure. Okay, in reference to this, I'm just kind of concerned, just maybe you can explain it to me.
Sure.
The notary shall maintain the confidentiality of all documents and everything in
Mhm.
terms of whatever they're doing. And then also, I have typed all this out, so please bear with me.
No problem.
Is the notary prohibited from retaining any copies? That's what I'm concerned about too, so.
So the notary that we're working with takes on all of the liability for their services.
Okay.
We would not, for what that's worth, we would not expect or have them make copies of any of these documents, and that's not standard practice. So if that were reported to us, we would absolutely address it with the vendor.
Okay.
The agreement that you have in front of you was created by our attorney. And the insurance levels that this notary has are appropriate for the level of work being done according to our attorney. And this company is in good standing as far as I can tell in the community. So I have no concerns that, I met with Mary specifically, and she knows what she's doing as far as notary services, as far as I'm familiar with how they work.
Okay, and then in terms of notary shall be responsible for any errors or omissions? Okay,
Yes, she has her own insurance, so that liability would fall to her,
and just so
well, to her company.
just so I understand, in
Mhm.
terms of what happens if a notary is late or cancels or is a no-show, what happens in terms
So
of that?
she's going to be communicating with us. She's going to be actually emailing me directly because we have direct contact. If that happens, we would let the community know. And there is a clause in the agreement. If that were to happen consistently, we may end this agreement. So this is the first time we're working with this vendor, so it's something that we'll be monitoring. But we will be agreeing on a schedule together, and she feels like she can commit to a consistent schedule with us.
And then, do we have a backup or substitute notary for anything in terms of sickness or illness or?
We don't. She's the only person at her company, so it would just be her.
Okay, and then in terms of liability insurance, she will.
She has her own.
Those are all my questions. Sure. Thank you.
I was gonna say it back up, main reason we were going is because of the liability
Mhm.
issues.
But I know some companies have more than one person. Her company only has her.
Yeah, which,
Thank you, Sue. Go ahead, everybody, roll call. Okay.
Trustee Shealer?
Yes.
Trustee Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Treasurer Patello?
Yes.
Secretary Toy?
Yes,
Vice President
Yes.
Jablonski, President King.
Yes, and I'm just really happy that we found a way to keep this service for our patrons.
I
And that
agree.
we also are being able to help the staff and help the patrons at the same time. So thank you, Valerie and staff, for coming up with this.
And if she has a set
Consistent schedule.
schedule, it'll make it easier communicating with the patrons also.
Absolutely.
And then Valerie, this will be on the website as well, just so they're aware of what's
Yes.
available.
We will absolutely be marketing this.
Thank you.
Thank you to the board. We really appreciate the support from the staff side. And I'm also really excited for the public because as I mentioned, she offers more types of notary services than we were able to through our staff. So I think it's a really good win-win situation.
Okay,
And for the record, it was 6-0 passes.
okay. I move to approve action on the proposal to approve phase 2 of the Community Engagement and Marketing Assessment by Stacy.
I think you have to read everything.
Huh?
Linden Consulting LLC.
Okay, sorry. Linden Consulting LLC.
Second.
So we've already talked about it tonight, but does anyone have any other last things they want to ask or talk about before taking a vote? All right then.
What's up? Trustee Schuler?
Yes.
Trustee Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Treasurer Battello?
Yes.
Secretary Toy?
Yes.
Vice
Yes.
President Rosansky? President King?
Yes.
6-0 passes.
Victoria's gonna go tell Annie we're really excited.
I move to approve action on the resolution authorizing adapting web content accessibility guidelines for the Niles, Maine District Library.
Second.
Any questions on this one?
Does this kind of play into the new web services provider, just,
What this is for, there is a law that takes effect in April 2026 where any government and educational institution has to follow these guidelines if you serve more than 50,000 people. And then other institutions, the law kicks in a little bit later. So these two, the next two items on the agenda were recommended by our attorney as we're updating our website and other things related to this law.
thank you.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes. Thank you. Trustee Schuler?
Yes.
Trustee Schoenfeld?
Yes.
Treasurer Battello?
Yes.
Secretary Toy?
Yes.
Yes,
Vice President Rosansky? President King?
yes.
6-0 passes. Thank you.
move. Okay, when you're ready. Are you ready? I'm watching you. You ready?
Good, thank
Move
you.
to approve action on Niles Main District Library WCAG 2.1 level AA digital accessibility translation plan.
Second.
Transition plan. Sorry, I had read it too quickly.
And Dave seconded.
Yes. Questions?
This goes along with the previous one.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, vote.
Trustee Schuler?
Yes.
Trustee Schoenfeld? Treasurer Battello?
Yes.
Secretary Toy?
Yes.
Vice President Rosansky?
Yes.
President King?
Yes.
6-0 passes.
Move. Are you ready? Okay. Move to go into executive session to discuss appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of, specific employees.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
808 PM.
It's
We are back in open session at 8:36 PM. So we're gonna take a roll, right?
Trustee Sheeler,
Present.
trustee Kadir, absent with prior notice. Trustee Schoenfeld,
Yes. Here.
treasurer Bertello,
Yes, here.
secretary Toy,
Yes.
vice president
Yes.
Bojansky, president King.
Here. There is no action on an executive session, so we're on to other. Does anyone have, trustee or secretary Toy as other?
Yes, thank you. I want to just compliment the Seed Library. It is, it's out of this world. I got my beans and my peas. I'm very happy. And then kudos to toddler story time would be, Miss Emma and Miss Lois. My granddaughter asks every day, are we going to the library? No, sweetheart, Thursday, which doesn't really help, but yeah. So, thank you very much.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Bernadetta did a lot of good work on the Seed Library, and a lot of the staff and volunteers participated in getting the packets ready.
Yeah.
Patty was one of them, thank you. And we also we're hoping to take a mini Seed Library out on outreach in the unincorporated areas. We're trying
Which
to
is a
find
cool
places.
idea.
Oh.
And while that is going
Wow.
out, please
Yeah.
let them know.
Mhm.
I will have the date after, I'm pretty sure I know when it is, but I'm making an appointment with Annie to, when we're gonna have the plant swap.
Perfect.
And I will definitely need volunteers and stuff to help with that.
And the seed library is a huge project. Like, we're trying to
Oh,
get that
it's
off the ground at this point,
massive.
and it's like.
So much nicer than, last
It's a lot
year,
of work.
she tried, but this year, she definitely succeeded.
Last year it was a brand new endeavor, and this year we were able to prepare more, so it is beautifully done. And the marketing team, Oliver, who's new, our graphic designer that displays created, was also really nice.
And so well labeled. I mean, you can't miss anything.
Mhm.
It's nice.
Thank you.
I'm happy.
Anyone else?
On other note,
Yeah.
I wish actually Margaret were here because I really do appreciate her sending out the patron comments, and I read them all, and it's just so good to see the positive comments, especially about the passport services, and you realize what a huge impact, that provides to the community. And there was one comment in there, Chicago person asking if they can get a Niles library card. We don't have reciprocity with them.
We do have
Oh, we do?
reciprocity. They
Oh.
can't get a Niles card specifically, but they could register their card with our system and use it reciprocally.
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Except for some things that are restricted to Niles patrons.
Okay.
There are some things, but let them check out Park Ridge, there's more.
Yeah, we do have some programs and some materials, especially in the Library of Things,
Uh-huh.
and some digital items that are only for Niles patrons, but
Okay.
they can get most of our materials and services.
But one big difference, and somebody said, well, they might have changed it, but not my recent knowledge, is our downstairs, what do you call it, where you could, makerspace?
Mhm.
People can come from Park Ridge, Chicago, whatever, do our glass etching or whatever. You can't in Park Ridge.
Mhm.
So, yes, Niles does accept Chicago people.
Okay, that's good to hear, because Chicago does for Niles.
I, at one time, because my daughter lives in Lombard, I went to Helen Plum with my Niles card, even though technically we're not connected, and registered my Niles card, and they let me use that there. So yes, other libraries, if you ask them, and you just register your card, there's usually no problem.
Yep. A lot of people just don't think to ask, but there's a lot of reciprocal borrowing among libraries in the area. It's really nice.
I don't know if I mentioned before, but I'm going to be representing our library at another conference in May. Did I? No, okay. So it's called Reaching Forward. It's also from ILA, but I was asked this time to participate as a library worker who was on the board. So Reaching Forward is and maybe I'm wrong, I haven't actually attended this one before, but it's more like for library workers that are not
It's for
degree, correct?
frontline staff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's going to be addressing, you know, what is it like to be a library worker or librarian who is also on the board and encouraging more of that. So,
And Cassandra is also going to
Yes,
be
she is.
presenting at Reaching Forward. I don't want to speak for what she's presenting, and she wasn't able to be here tonight, but it's very exciting to have
Very
two of our people presenting, and Georgia also helps to plan that entire conference every year, who's our assistant supervisor of patron services. So we have a lot of
our
good
library's rocking
participation.
it.
Mhm.
Nice. Well, and you're presenting too, April something for,
May, we're doing the same presentation that we did at the ILA conference on book bans for trustees is being presented as a
Yeah.
webinar.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I motion, or I move to motion to adjourn this wonderful meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
8:42.